Hello, I'm Stevie Moore. They call me the featured artist of the month here at LimeWire store. Very little. I'm the one at home pressing the record button. And that's what I was doing 40 years ago. My thing is how I deal with the music that I make at home by pressing the recorded button. And that's that I release everything that I've ever recorded. I deal directly with the fan customer themselves. Not really, no. I'm the king of cassettes, so that has nothing to do with compressed MP3s, or does it? I don't notice any change. Nothing in the business end of it affects the inspiration of the creativity itself. And that's, I am getting to be a 600-year-old man soon, but I still feel like a kid, teenager, wreaking havoc. I can do anything I want, and I do just that, and I love that freedom. It's circumstance. I'm always asked that too, as far as what lo-fi means. And the interesting part about it is back in the 70s, it was really a problem because my home recordings just could not compete. There were no A&R men at labels that would even bother listening to something with any kind of muddy sound. I don't understand how people can consciously try to be lo-fi. What does that mean? It doesn't make any sense to me what that means. These days, I have digital. I don't have an analog versus digital issue in my own mind, but I use workstations, and I don't worry about fi, whether it's messy sounding or vast reverby hi-fi. I don't know what any of it means anymore. I've never touted myself as being lo-fi. It's others that call it that. And of course, if you do listen to a lot of my 70s, my golden era of Nashville, when I was only using reel-to-reel tape recorders without multi-track, those things are muddy as can be. That's true lo-fi. Yep, increasingly as we go, and especially I'm getting to the point where I have to fend them off because there's just so many that do it these days. And I'm vulnerable and always gracious and generous, wanting new friends and new collaborators and all. But then I just get in over my head. I can't handle the demand. There's so many kids that send me their stuff, and I love it, but I gotta step back and say, if I try to connect with this guy, then I'll be obligated to live up to my promise and get his hopes up. But that happens all the time. It really started happening back in the MySpace era, if we remember way back then, 3 or 4 years ago, two years ago. I never go to my MySpace pages anymore. I don't know why. I got tunes posted up there, and I got dozens of MySpace accounts because of that. I haven't been contacted by the Robert Pollards and all of those people that are supposedly influenced by me, but I've connected with Jad Fair and Mike Watt and Don Fleming and Ariel Pink. That's another story in itself. He's been very cool for 10 years now. He tracked me down. But we haven't been able to connect like we want to, as far as true collaboration, which would be very cool. I don't even think about it. It just comes out. I don't write and record proper pop like I used to, and it's sad, but I know I still can if I want to. I'm more interested in sound painting and juxtaposition of incongruities. It's a blender, throwing stuff into the blender. And that's what my most recent albums are. They, as always, have all musical styles. For me, you gotta have it all. I wanted it to be instrumental. The Beatles thing was purposefully, let's keep it multi-track guitars. I was heavily into Brian May and Queen and that kind of stuff, and let's just see what we can do with it. And it was a great experiment. And I did a little backing vocals, just for texture. I was doing the vocals wordless by playing lead guitar stuff. So that was purposeful. It was meant to be that way. I can't verify this, but I was always told several times that John Lennon actually heard that and liked it but citation needed. Punk rock, glam rock. I was stuck down there. I was doing music in the mid-'70s and also doing recording sessions in studios for country singers. I had an uncle who lived in New Jersey. I came up to New York, New Jersey all through my childhood because my mother is from Jersey, so I had connections somewhat. But my uncle is the only one that was ever really supportive of what I was doing at home, my own music. And no one in Nashville would listen. I mean, there was just nothing down there. It was a natural migration for me to come north. And when I came north, that's when punk rock was exploding. And I got a job at Sam Goody's record store and was almost immediately an underground semi-sensation, even if it's just with 10 people. I mean, it was just, I bleached my hair, you know, blonde, white, spiky, and the skinny ties, and Talking Heads was, all this stuff was just starting to happen, so everything was perfect. Back then is when you're gonna have to get a band together, Steve, and it just didn't happen, you know. It wasn't meant to happen. I was the boy in his bedroom. It's a natural migration to come from Nashville because it was just too honky-tonk hillbilly. There was just no, the only rock down there was the southern rock thing that was happening so huge, and you know, I liked it, but I hated it. A lot of my peer group down there hated it. I mean, you know, it's just blues. I hated blues. Love blues now. What goes around, coming around. And same with country too. It took me to move to Jersey and get over my punk rock bit to finally dive into collecting music that my dad played bass on when I was a little baby. Hank Williams and George Jones and all that stuff. It's just unbelievable, great stuff. And same with blues. I mean, that whole thing is so essential. But it, you know, for me it was Beatles. You know, that was always lack of mediocrity. I can't stand, to this day, that's my religion, is a war against mediocrity. And so much of, you know, even indie rock has mediocrity. I didn't really keep up with the Strokes when they happened, and now they had the NME #1 album of the fucking decade. I finally listened to it. That's kind of something I like. That's a kind of cool thing that I like. Let's keep it playing. And every song sounds alike. And that's how everybody else is. And that's such a religion with me, to where I was born and will die a free-form radio show, because my music crosses all genres all at one time. It's like listening to various artists. And I'm so proud of that. And I don't know if that's a good thing. That goes over most people's heads because everybody has such tunnel vision. They don't want to be thrown for a loop by a spoken word piece and then followed by a country weepy, you know, and then heavy metal, and then techno. I mean, I love it all, and I can do it all fairly well, but I got to do it that way. I get so bored so easily by listening to one thing that sounds the same track after track after track.